I can actually help that receptive processing those skills through this mind-body connection. So it was kind of a somatic way to actually work on the same academic goals, but in a totally innovative way that was honestly more fun for the kids anyway. At first, when I was teaching, I just thought, I just want to quit my job and teach Pilates to kids. And that seemed irresponsible. It kind of seemed just silly, like this silly idea, like how LA of me to want to teach Pilates to kids and quit my job. But I couldn't get it out of my head.
Welcome to Reclaim, a podcast powered by Future Digital. I'm Destinee Berman, founder and CEO of Future Digital, where we partner with venture-backed health, wellness, and family brands to scale with trust. Each episode, I sit down with founders and growth leaders to uncover two things: the story behind the brand and the decisions behind the growth. Let's get into it. 1 in 5 children in the United States has been diagnosed with a mental, emotional, or behavioral health condition, and yet 80% of kids with anxiety disorders never receive treatment. Mary Montague saw this gap firsthand as a special education teacher in Beverly Hills, and she developed and created the POGA Method, a curriculum combining Pilates, yoga, meditation, and mindfulness, and has since got it adopted as a board-approved program reaching 800 students weekly in Beverly Hills schools alone, with her team now teaching up to 1,000 students weekly across LA and New York. Mary Montague spent 8 years as a special education teacher in Beverly Hills, and she noticed her favorite hour of the day was the after-school Pilates class she taught. That observation became the POGA Method, a curriculum combining her personal practice in Pilates and yoga with meditation and mindfulness designed specifically for kids. What started as a side project is now a board-approved program in Beverly Hills, reaching 1,000 students weekly across LA and New York. Her summer camp sells out in 60 seconds. Today, we're talking about what it took to get from after-school experiment to official curriculum, how you scale high-touch wellness education, and what her special lens taught her about accessibility that mainstream brands may still miss. Mary, I'm so excited to have you on the Reclaim show today. I think we've got some interesting angles and conversation starters that we'll be able to get into. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I thought we could start from the beginning. And I guess these are like two bigger questions. One, would love to hear more about your founder's journey and what really got you to creating the POGA Method. And then we can talk about the origin and the birthing of how you developed the method and how you really got it to market.
So it came about very organically, where I didn't have a big master business plan or anything like that. It just came step by step. So it started when I was a special education teacher in the Beverly Hills Unified School District for 8 years. And I loved that job. Right out of college, I got so lucky and just had the best job ever. And I grew up in Australia as a ballet dancer. And so I naturally found Pilates, and I would go to Pilates every single morning before work. So I would arrive into my classroom just feeling 10 out of 10. I was focused, I was lengthened, I had good posture, I was attentive, I was ready for the day. And then I just kind of realized, if only my students could get on the same page as me, we'd all kind of be in this together, and this would help their focus and concentration and attention so much within the classroom. And especially because I had a lot of students who were struggling with ADHD and learning disabilities and things like that, I just thought, wait, this could be something, Pilates could be something that could be integrated into the classroom. And at first it seemed kind of like a silly idea, but I was able to, one step at a time, organically create something that worked.
And so you saw the gap in terms of your students, being on the same page. What did you have to explore in terms of, well, how do you adapt it for kids, right? And also, did you find that they were open to it? Like, I'm curious about the development and the application.
They were so open to it. In fact, they were asking me to do it. Maybe they even almost came up with the idea a little bit, which I often find that your best ideas are often just listening to what people are asking for. So at that time when I was obsessed with Pilates and I would go every morning before work, I would sit on a massive Pilates ball, those big balls that you see at the gym. I would sit on that instead of a teacher chair, just so that I could engage my core during the day. And engaging your core during the day is just going to help you be more focused. And some of my students who had occupational therapy were sitting on those little wiggle seats, kind of like a little cushion that you put on your chair. So we know, there's science-backed evidence that proves different tools are going to help you with focus, especially if you're kind of a wiggly kid. So they knew that I would sit on a big Pilates ball. They knew the word Pilates because they knew that I would come from Pilates every morning. And so they would sometimes joke to me, Miss Montague, teach us some Pilates, teach us some Pilates. And I just kind of thought like, okay, that's, avoidant behavior. You're avoiding, the academic class. And then I thought, you know what? I am going to teach you some Pilates. So kind of playfully one day I said, okay, everyone get up out of your desks, come to the rug. We had a nice carpet space and let me teach you some Pilates. And they were so eager. And then very informally, we were just stretching. We were doing different yoga poses. We were breathing, etc. And I really got them in unison. And one example that I have to really illustrate this is I had a student who was in 5th grade, this beautiful student, this beautiful girl, and she was smart and popular and sporty and all the things. But she had ADHD pretty significantly that was affecting her organization. So if a teacher, say her 5th grade teacher, was telling her to put this piece of paper into the math section of your notebook, she would like do a cartwheel, like the processing, receptive processing was not kind of coming through for like that mind body connection. So then, for example, when I brought her to the carpet and I said, okay, lay down on your back and stretch your right leg up and feel that stretch, she would do a cartwheel. And I realized, oh, the mind body connection is off. So even though I had previously been working with her in a way of graphic organizers and in a more traditional way of organizing your notebook, then I realized, oh, I can actually help that receptive processing, those skills, through this mind-body connection. So it was kind of a somatic way to actually work on the same academic goals, but in a totally innovative way that was honestly more fun for the kids anyway.
How did you, when did you know that this could turn into something maybe more formalized, bigger, having the impact that it led to?
Because it was not quick. It took some time. So at first, when I was teaching, I just thought, I just want to quit my job and teach Pilates to kids. And that seemed irresponsible. It kind of seemed just silly, like this silly idea, like how LA of me to want to teach Pilates to kids and quit my job. But I couldn't get it out of my head. And I went and got all of my certifications in Pilates, yoga, kids yoga, everything. And then I just kept on thinking about how beneficial it would be and about how nobody else was doing this. So I took a risk and I took a 1-year leave from my teaching position. And that was very, very scary. But thankfully, it was just a 1-year leave. So I could get my job back at the end. And then what ended up happening is once I left, some colleagues of mine, some former colleagues, kindergarten teachers, I told them what I was doing. And they said, wait, can you teach this in our classroom? They had extra money from the PTA. They said, we can use you as an enrichment program because they really believed in it. And they knew that I had a real teaching background. So it wasn't going to be fluffy. So then I said, yes, let me come and teach it in your classroom. So we started there where I only had 3 classes a week in a kindergarten classroom, 30 minutes per week. And then it just caught on like wildfire. All of the parents, all of the other teachers, the students were like, wait, what are you doing? We want this in our classroom. And it grew from there. But it was very organic and very much me just kind of figuring out how best to offer it as the time went on.
So how long were these initial sessions and what age range were the kids?
30-minute lessons we do for the most part in the classroom. For after school or private lessons, we'll do 45 minutes to an hour. But our primary program is in the classroom. So that's 30 minutes. And then what was your second question?
What age range were the kids? Because I'm curious. Yeah.
Age range. So we do toddlers to teens. So preschool ages 2 to 3, all the way up to teenagers. Occasionally we'll have adults join as well, or we'll do privates for adults. But I always say toddlers to teens. I will say our most popular age is preschool through 3rd grade.
Oh, interesting. Why is that? Is it they're more curious or interested in body movement? Yeah. Able to focus?
I think I personally love that age because they're so receptive to learning new things and they don't know anything different. So the same way that in their classroom they go to science lab, they go to art, they go to music, they go to PE as all these different specials, they have POGA and they just think it's normal. They would have no idea that kids in the Midwest maybe are not necessarily doing POGA. Like they don't know that it's not necessarily a super nationwide or internationally spread program within the classroom. So they're very, very lucky. So they're extremely receptive to it when they're young. And then I think it's the most popular age because fortunately or unfortunately, that's when kids have the most time, I think, when they're younger. As they get a little bit older, obviously, they are making choices about what they're prioritizing. So maybe someone's a super, involved gymnast, and that's going to take up a lot of their time. I grew up as a ballet dancer. I was dancing like 20 hours a week. So because that was my chosen sport or my chosen craft, I didn't have as much time. Um, so I think it's harder when you get older. However, my goal is to just if you're a basketball player or you're a gymnast or you're a dancer or you have something that's an intense sport or, you're studying a lot and you're working with tutors, I just want to emphasize how this can be integrated to help all of those other sports. So that's kind of my mindset, but I understand that it's most popular when kids are young because essentially that's when they have more time, I think.
Right. That makes sense. I have a third grader and I can see that he gets busier every year. So I guess for someone new to your approach, like what is a POGA method? Like how would you define that, break that down? And what sets it apart and what makes it different, separate for the audience that it's developed for?
I love that. So we have 4 parts to the POGA method. The first part is the movement, which is Pilates and yoga. That's why we call it POGA. And Pilates is really about body control. So some people listening might think of Pilates as, these crazy machines that look very scary, that adults. There's also mat Pilates, and that was created by Joseph Pilates. And he actually called his method contrology. So when we teach Pilates to kids, we're just teaching them how to control their body. And there's concentration involved, there's breathing involved, there's precision involved. So really it's about controlling your body. And that is such a beautiful skill to have that's going to support your mind with academics and also support your body with basketball, soccer, injury prevention, all the things. So Pilates is the first one. Yoga is the second one. And of course, a lot of people are familiar with yoga. Just connecting breath to movement. It can kind of be a moving meditation. So beautiful, makes you feel calm, makes you more flexible, helps with longevity, mobility, core strength, all the things. And it's very fun and easy to combine Pilates and yoga together for kids because we make it so fun. Like if you think about the game Simon Says, we'll play a game called POGA Says. And I'm saying POGA says down dog, POGA says child's pose, POGA says half moon, and we're just playing fun games with the kids. So depending on the age, we make the Pilates and yoga very fun, very engaging. And then the last 2 pillars of the method are meditation and mindfulness. So mindfulness obviously is going to give you the stress relief techniques, and you can learn them from a young age. It's going to give you that nervous system regulation tools that you can use anywhere. And then the meditation is just so beautiful to give kids a chance to just hear themselves think and be the best version of themselves. And to learn that from a young age in a very child development, mentally appropriate way that we teach it, where we just integrate it a little bit. Maybe a first grader is meditating for 1 minute. That's it. But those tools from a young age is really going to make a big impact. So having the 4 pillars in every lesson is always our goal.
So I guess maybe going back to the journey and the development, is so you have developed this innovative, comprehensive approach. You took a year off. Did you ever go back? Because I think we found in our stats that your program was reaching over 800 students weekly in Beverly Hills schools, now being taught to 1,000 students across LA, New York. Like, tell us a little bit how that got there, and did you ever go back?
Great question. So I never went back formally to being a special education teacher. However, I do love teaching academics. So with my private practice, when I work with private clients in their homes, the clients that I work with really intensely, I do incorporate academics for them. So that is something that I personally do in my private practice. And I mean, teaching kids how to read is one of my favorite things ever. So I like to keep up my special education or my academic teaching career kind of integrated into POGA. And I don't necessarily advertise it that way because it's really kind of exclusive for my high proximity private clients that I have currently in New York. Um, so I never formally went back to being a special education teacher.
How did you start to expand the reach, right? And like, were you the only one teaching, or did you have others teaching with you as it started to get more popular?
So I've been doing the POGA method for 11 years. And for the first 6 or 7 years, it was only me teaching. And to be honest, I didn't know I had a business. I just thought, oh, I'm a teacher. I'd be at happy hour meeting someone new and they say, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I just teach yoga to kids. I didn't really think of it as a business, to be honest. And that sounds silly now, but I've had a lot of growth in the past 5 or so years. It wasn't until I got way too busy because I was scaling too fast and I had a wait list that I realized, wait, okay, I actually have a business and I can actually streamline and create systems. And I want to bring on new teachers. And the funny thing about that is, in the beginning, of course, it's so scary, like any business that scales. It's so scary to bring on new teachers because
Of course.
you wonder if are the clients only going to want me, et cetera. But now I think it's such a beautiful opportunity that I'd created jobs for these other teachers. Every 2 weeks when I do payday, I'm so happy that I get to pay these teachers. I got to give them a job that they love. So there ended up being so many positives to hiring teachers. And that started a few years ago as it scaled. And then once we got to over 1,000 kids, now I've really had to put on a different hat where now I view myself as a founder and an entrepreneur and someone who's scaling a curriculum and, being innovative and staying ahead of the curve. And that was one of the reasons why I moved to New York City and spend most of my time here. However, I do go back and forth, is because I wanted to expand my skills and really be at top performing schools around top performing people so that I could stay ahead of the curve and stay innovative.
So how many teachers do you have teaching your method right now? And are you currently reaching and working with 1,000 students per week? That's a huge impact.
Yes, yes, thank you. Right now I have 5 teachers on my team. And, it's always kind of finding the balance between scaling without losing the value of the program. So that's something that I'm in the middle of right now. Could I scale so much faster? Probably, but I want to keep the quality really good and I want to have really I want to give my team teachers a lot of my time to help them and to help with the training and to help them understand the curriculum. So I don't want the value of anything to go down. So that's why I've been scaling slow. However, what I've realized by hiring teachers is I'm actually making the value go up so much because these teachers bring so much to the table. Because obviously I'm very confident in my skills, but all the teachers that come on my team, they've done different certifications to me, or they have, maybe a degree in public health or maybe a dance certification and things like that, maybe a breathwork certification that they're bringing to the POGA method. So it's kind of finding the balance of everything, of making sure that the clients understand I'm only adding more value and figuring out the correct pace for that.
Are the students primarily taking advantage of this through after school programs? Is it virtual? How do the summer camps kind of integrate into this picture?
Yeah. I love summer camps. That's one of our favorite parts. We kind of save some of our most fun lessons for summer camp. Um, so primarily, I would say our program is mostly in school classrooms. That's like the bulk of our program. Then we offer after school classes. So we partner with different schools and event spaces. Then we do virtual as well. A lot of virtual is a little bit more based on meditation and mindfulness and being a mindset mentor. And then, of course, we have private practice in clients' homes. And then summer camp is so much fun. We've done a kids yoga retreat in Beverly Hills for 7 years. I believe this will be our 8th year. And
Well,
that's extremely popular. One year we sold out the camp in under a minute. And then I think there were 40 people on the wait list. It was crazy. So
yeah.
our summer camps are very, very popular. And that's also something that I'm excited to scale.
Yeah. I'm wondering if the popularity and the engagement at these classes, like, are you collecting data or getting information from the schools or the parents in terms of what their kids are experiencing? Is there outcomes around tied to the kids' well-being or mental health? Or, like, I'm wondering what that thread and that conversation has included.
So data collection is something that I actually really need help with. That's something that hasn't come naturally to me because I didn't start with that. My mindset is building rapport with kids, making them feel comfortable, creating engaging lessons. And that's really where my skill set is. And I struggle with that a little bit because as I expand in New York and I'm having meetings with different schools, they often ask me about data, which makes sense. And I have so much anecdotal data. I have teacher testimonials that are so beautiful. I run into kids, at Whole Foods and they'll say, "Oh, I did that mindfulness tool that you told me when I was really nervous at the dentist." Or I have parents, texting me, "We used your tool when my child had anxiety before a ski lesson." Like I have so much kind of personal data and observations and feedback that I get. I have done a few surveys and I was surveying fourth and fifth graders, probably 400 of them a few years ago, and 98% of the students said that they wanted more POGA within their school day. That was an excellent statistic that I am always sharing with the schools. But data collection, I know that it's very important and it's something that I need an expert to help me with, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yes, all good. I'm like curious because I mean, obviously something is working, and
Yeah.
it sounds like the kids are asking for it, um, and the schools are adopting it. Like, I guess, how are you growing your school partnerships? And how has that development looked like?
Almost everything I do in my business is referral based and through word of mouth, which I understand because if you have kids and a new adult is coming to work with your kids, you want to kind of have a friend or, see someone that's really telling you about it and really sharing their experience with you. So oftentimes the teachers that I know are requesting it within their classroom. Then we do tons of demo lessons. I think as soon as the school administrators meet me or have me on a call, then they understand what I'm all about. Or my private clients, those parents are bringing me into the school to refer me. So I would say it's mostly word of mouth, um, which I understand because with kids, you want to be cautious and you want to have a personal connection. But the more that people hear about the program and the more that I'm sharing on social media or doing podcasts like this, it's really helpful because then I start having schools reach out directly.
Ah, got it. Okay, that makes sense. Private public schools, or what's the breakdown there?
So our primary biggest client is the Beverly Hills Unified School District, which is where I started teaching as a special ed teacher. They're a public school. The funding for the POGA program comes both from the school in addition to parent funds that are raised for extra enrichment. So it's a little bit of both, I believe. Um, in addition to that, I would say we're in more private schools than we are with public. I just want to be wherever I can, you know? To me, it doesn't matter where we are. Um, I don't know if I've cracked the code yet of how to be in as many schools as possible because I understand that a lot of they have their own behind the scenes process of budgets and time and that kind of thing. So I don't know if I've cracked the code, but it probably leans more private than public, but I'd love to be open to everything.
Yeah. And I'm also wondering how much a lift of it is it to integrate into the curriculum, right? Whether it's a public or private, because typically the schools have their set curriculum. And so how easy or not easy is it to say, hey, we're going to introduce this 30-minute class, even if they know that it's beneficial?
Yes, it's so easy. To them, sometimes they have questions and it seems complicated, but it is so easy and it gives a compound effect. So, for example, I would go into a classroom once a week and teach a 30-minute lesson. Those skills that the kids are learning during the class can then be repeated by the teacher at any time. So, some of the skills that they're learning is to do a quick bunny breath for focus. That would
Hmm,
take me 3 minutes to teach, and then they could do it anytime they want in the classroom for 30 seconds. And
cool.
then think about when kids come in from recess, and it might take 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get them to calm down, right? But I'm going in and demonstrating every week that you can turn down the lights, you can put on some soft music, you can come on in and do a quick little bunny breath. You can put on a little video, like I have these Mary's mini meditation videos that are under 5 minutes. And you can just play that to kind of get your mindset in the right position before you do the academic work. So even though it's taking out technically 30 minutes a week, it's actually making up so much time, which is what I found when I first did it 11 years ago with my own students, is once I took them out of their desk for 10 minutes in the morning, once we got back to our desk, we made up that time 10x because they were so much more focused. So it is a commitment to take the 30 minutes out of the school week, but they'll make up their time.
Wow, love that. Maybe kind of turning this to your founder's journey. So you mentioned, having to go through some shifts from viewing yourself from being a teacher to a founder. I guess maybe share. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that story. What you maybe had to unpack in yourself, what you had to release in yourself. Did you have mentors along the way that guided you through this journey?
I don't know if I had any mentors specifically, but I had a lot of expanders. And expanders meaning someone that I look at, it could be someone that I know personally or a number of people that I follow online. And just people who inspire me of how they show up every day and kind of the energy that they put towards their work and their business while also having that self care and staying authentic to where their true gifts are. So it just kind of happened over time and little by little, it's like, if I look back at where I was 11 years ago, I've made so much progress. Even if I look back at where I was 3 years ago, I've made so much progress. So that's where I just keep on reminding myself to keep going. Uh, Little by little, I'm going to learn the skills. There's so many things I don't know. And I ask ChatGPT what to do. I Google something, how to do a certain business task. But really, I think that I'm someone who's very observational and very inspired by others. So, social media kind of gets a bad rap sometimes, but I think some people that I follow on social media, different people in business or different people in wellness, being able to see what they do really inspires me. And then just getting really grounded with where is my skill set and what am I really good at? And how can I make an impact on these classrooms and for these kids and families? And if I just keep showing up and helping the kids, then it becomes pretty easy.
Got it. Got it. And sounds like you've committed and moved into taking on the founder identity with conviction. Is this something that came naturally with time, or did you have to, make some active decisions within yourself?
Part of it came once I started going bi-coastal between LA and New York. So because I lived in LA full time for 17 years, I had a certain identity there. And this identity was probably self-imposed, right? My identity was that I used to be a special education teacher. Now I teach kids, POGA, this program that I made up, right? Then, as I started going back and forth to New York and LA many, many times before I officially made New York my permanent residence, I started expanding my mind where I thought, okay, when I'm in New York, I feel more innovative, I'm learning more, I'm discovering new things. And that helped change my identity also because when I was in New York, I would have my teachers in LA subbing my classes. And I realized that there was no problem when my teachers subbed my classes. They were happy, students were happy, the general education teachers were happy, parents were happy, everyone was happy. So that made me realize, okay, I can continue to grow what's in LA at the same time as myself growing. And I needed that push. And I actually think moving to New York helped me because I was able to kind of step into a new identity. Then when I moved to New York and people would say, what do you do? I was able to say, I founded a kids wellness company. In LA, I wasn't necessarily saying that. So I think moving to New York really expanded my mind and I was able to feel self-empowered to really decide what do I do and how do I want this to grow.
Got it. Oh, I love that. And I love that you use shifting your environment to also help you with the identity shift as well.
Yes. Yeah. I was very lucky and I'm so happy with the decision that I made.
So maybe let's talk about like what do you have on your plans or in your plans for 2026? Like what's next? Your vision for growth? Like where your focus is? Because we're still early enough in the year, right? We're still looking out, and we got a lot we all want to accomplish this year.
I'll answer professionally and personally. Professionally, my main focus with the POGA method is schools because if you think about it, kids are in schools from 8 to 3. So in order to make the most impact, we have to be within the schools. Obviously, we work with private clients and after school programs between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. or on weekends, but we can really make the most impact within schools. And then that's going to have a compound effect if we start with the kids in preschool or pre-K or kindergarten, and then they keep on going, then they're just set up for life. I mean, it's incredible how well these kids remember the tools and they keep on practicing them, even once they're in high school and teenage years when the stress really comes on. So expanding in schools is our number one goal at the POGA method. And then personally, I just want to make sure that I'm keeping up my own love and my own practice for Pilates and for yoga and for meditation and for mindfulness, because that's what I teach. And I don't want my personal practice to ever feel like work. So, for example, last October-ish, I was feeling really burnt out. I just kind of went through a little burnout period. So I started listening to the book called Burnout, and I really liked it in the beginning. And then after a while, I noticed myself y- y- using the concepts that I was listening to and thinking, oh, I could relate this to my teaching. So then I was listening to it and thinking about work the entire time. And then I had to tell myself, Mary, stop. You're reading this book, Burnout, for yourself, for a personal reason. Like, just enjoy the self-care for you. You don't have to relate every self-care and every wellness tip that you learn into your business. So
Yeah.
kind of trying to find the balance between feeling the tools, the mindfulness tools, the meditation, the movement that work for me, and just letting me enjoy it and embody it, and then figuring out the best way to teach that to our client.
Got it. I love that. I love that you are prioritizing your own core practices as you are extending your impact and scaling your business as well, right? Because being a founder, being in the practice, like there's a lot that we, need to be juggling and want to be juggling.
Yes, and it's so important because oftentimes I think that happens where someone, loves going to the gym, they love working out, and then they become a trainer, and then the gym is now their place of work. So we have to be careful when we do something we love, we have to be careful to keep the love in that and keep it as a hobby and not just as a career path.
So for you, what's your practice or wisdom in keeping the joy in what has now become the primary work?
I think just filling up my own cup before I get to work. I am a huge fan of a morning routine. I love the morning so much. I am definitely early to rise. And then I do some sort of meditation or mindfulness practice in the morning. It might be a meditation seated. It might be a walking meditation in silence. It might be journaling. That's been my go-to practice lately, waking up and journaling right away before I look at my phone, just getting all of those thoughts out. It might be putting on some music and dancing a little bit in my kitchen as I get ready. It's usually a sunshine walk. Even if the sun's not out, I always just call it a sunshine walk. Um, And then oftentimes it's either my own Pilates or yoga-based workout at home or going to a class. I love being around people and going to a workout class. And then once I have all of those things settled, it's like my mind is now clear. My mind is on fire. I'm ready to focus. I'm ready to work. And then the rest of my day is so much more productive.
Got it. I love that. So I guess two things as we're, getting close to wrapping up. So you mentioned that your focus this year is on building out more partnerships with schools. And I'm wondering, are there specific locations, or is it more schools are open and willing to, give this a shot? And then I don't know if you want to share this, but like I'm curious, like what the pricing looks like, or typically what that structure looks like.
Yes. So I've developed a 30-week school curriculum. So typically schools are in session. Typically, schools are in session for 40 weeks in the school year. So we have a 30-week curriculum so that it allows space for wiggle room. If there's assemblies, field trips, canceled classes, I'm sick, my team teachers are sick, we do a 30-week curriculum. And that's the best way for the schools to get involved. So they essentially buy the 30-week curriculum, where so far it has been they're committing to a 30-week curriculum, and myself or one of my team teachers is going in teaching weekly. So we're essentially a service provider. Another way that schools can buy the 30-week curriculum is to bring me out to train their teachers and to give the curriculum to them. So that's another method that we're scaling.
The kinds of schools that in particular locations, school sizes. Yeah.
Schools, my team is in Los Angeles and I'm in New York City. So that's primarily where we're scaling right now. However, this curriculum is established where it can be done anywhere. So any schools that want to reach out to me that want to integrate this program into their school day can be done with me training their teachers or me hiring teachers within their city to deliver the curriculum to the students. So it really can be done from anywhere. Now that we have this curriculum, it's very, very easy to integrate anywhere.
Got it. And so now this actually just reminded me of a follow-up question. So with the two ways that schools can adopt and take on your 30-week curriculum, what's the current breakdown between schools hiring you or one of your teachers to teach versus you training one of their teachers? And then what is that what does that training and what does that quality assurance looks like? Yeah.
Yes. So if the school is hiring me or one of my team teachers, I've already vetted them. I've already trained them. They're certified in the appropriate yoga certifications. And oftentimes they have extra certifications in Pilates or breathwork or meditation, and their degrees might be in related fields. So if they're hiring someone from my team, they're a very well-trained, very certified instructor. If the school chooses to have their own teachers teach the program, then they would bring me in to train their teachers. Now, it might be a little bit different if their teachers don't necessarily have a yoga teacher certification, but I would go in and do professional development for all the teachers, introduce how we do it, and then they could adapt based on how they're comfortable. So sometimes I could do a professional development for their whole entire school. Other times I could train one teacher at their school, or I could send out one of my POGA teachers myself.
I see. So then how long does that training process typically take?
I think a professional development would be a few days.
Okay.
Then they can see me teaching within the classroom, teaching the students within the classroom, and then the teacher can observe me, and then I can start to observe the teacher teaching, and I can get feedback.
Got it. Got it. Okay, fantastic. Well, I think maybe, this podcast is called Reclaim. And so the two ending questions I love to end with is, what are you helping your students reclaim? Or what are you supporting yourself or reclaiming for yourself in this journey and in this process?
I'm helping my students reclaim the ability to focus. There's so many distractions, and they can focus on the task at hand at school. They can also focus on themselves, just feeling self-empowered, knowing how to feel good. Having these tools in your toolbox where you notice your emotion, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling anxious about a test. And just having the tools for how to focus and how to choose the emotion that you want to feel. Oftentimes after our lessons, I ask the kids, how do you feel? And they say, I feel calm, I feel happy, I feel good. So that's great. So then they know what to do if they want to choose to feel calm and happy and good. So bringing the focus back to feeling good is what I want the kids to reclaim. And then for myself, I just want to reclaim finding the balance between my own self-care and my own quest for growth. As the world changes, I want to make sure that I stay innovative, that our POGA method practices stay innovative, and that we're keeping up with the problems that the kids are facing and their needs, and we're always offering the best solution for them.
Love that. Love that. I can tell how much you care about your work and your and delivering quality, and just how much you care about your students and the communities that you serve. So that's beautiful.
Yes, it's really exciting to see where it's going, because feeling good and feeling focused and having the self-care and having the health and wellness integrated into your day is not going away, right? With all of the tools, whatever age we are, just being able to take care of ourselves, that's never going to go away. So just constantly refocusing on how to best take care of ourselves is always going to be top of mind.
Yeah, I love that. Amazing. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mary, for taking your time and giving us your energy today.
Thank you, Destinee. I could talk about this stuff all day. So I really appreciate your time and all of the thoughtful questions.
Love it. Thanks for listening to Reclaim. If you're building women's health, consumer wellness, or family brand, and you want a growth partner who understands trust-based categories, visit scalewithfuture.com. And if this conversation resonated, follow the show so you don't miss what's next. I'm Destinee Berman. See you next time.